Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and I'm delighted to be joined by JJ Bull.
Hello.
John Mackenzie.
I wish I wasn't here.
Good Lord. And Ruben Pinder.
Hello.
Hello. You're a bit sick, aren't you?
Yeah, so I apologise to the audience
It's
in
very,
advance
very Michael Caine, isn't
for my listen, right? I've come in to do the podcast.
Yeah.
You're not going to take the out of me.
Sorry.
I do sound like this throughout, and I apologise for that. But hopefully, the insight more than makes up for it.
Do you know what it does? And unlike Steve Hankey, who is, toxic sort of Generation Zer and has stayed at home with a cold, you've come in like a
trooper.
Like a trooper who's going to infect everyone
To
else.
pass
in
it
the
on to
office.
us all, yeah.
Yeah. No, well done.
Very
Thanks for being here.
Convivial.
And we've got Rachel in the booth as well, who's not wearing any headphones because she's actually doing, there we go, other important work, rather than listen to us, because it would be, it's a lot. For an hour, it would be very boring. Very boring.
Jeremy
what's happening
Dockett.
on the Jeremy Dockett today? Loads of things, I think. I can't recall. Oh, yes. Here it is. Liverpool probably won the league. We talked about that a little bit. That was a bit
No, we
boring.
didn't.
We didn't really talk about that. Arsenal. We talked about how many red cards they got. You're going to love that bit, Arsenal fans. We're actually very kind, very generous. Very generous in that. West Ham, are they being moulded on a potter's wheel? Wrote Steve Hankey, who again
Even
is
when
not
he's
here.
not here, yeah.
Is
Even
not
when
here.
he's not here.
Like in the movie Ghost.
Yes, that's right. Moyes, mighty Everton, wrote Steve Hankey. And
nice alliteration there. Moyes, mighty Everton.
We didn't have time to talk about whether we can still call
Spurs.
Tottenham.
Oh, yeah. Can we
Because
talk about that
Spurs
now?
now.
They've asked, well, very briefly.
Why have they done that?
They've said, the thing is, I think it's all a little bit overblown. Like The Athletic published a piece about it. Spurs sent a letter to.
You can say Tottenham Hotspurs.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Hotspur. Singular.
Hotspur sent a letter to broadcasters saying, can you, basically in the same way that any normal company would that has a brand, that says, can you use our brand in the correct way, please? Because what happens is, like me, all the broadcasters, they just say Tottenham all the time, and they're saying, well, that's not our name. Our name is either, we'll accept Spurs or Tottenham Hotspur. And I think for them, they haven't said this in the letter, but for them, maybe it's a bit like, although there's no other Premier League Tottenham team to distinguish them from, I suppose it's a little bit like calling Sheffield United or Sheffield
Someone
Wednesday
should
Sheffield
start
or something.
another Tottenham team and make them more successful.
And make them,
than
well, then it
Spurs.
would make the point further, I
I
think.
call them North London White, whatever they were called in Pro Evo. That would be good.
Sure,
I
yeah.
have a much more cynical view of it than you.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a branding exercise that distances the club from the area and makes them more accessible to Americans who already know a team called the Spurs.
Sure.
And it should be
but
Tottenham
it's quite
Hotspurs.
That
not
is
Spur.
the weird quirk of their name.
The Tottenham
Is
Hotspurs.
it just a singular?
It
What
comes-
is a Hotspur anyway? It's a,
It
is it
comes
chicken.
from. It was originally
water.
a cricket team.
I thought Hotspur is like the. Oh, is it something to do with what the chicken's got to come into it somehow?
It's
Isn't
a
it?
cockerel.
The chicken.
Yeah, the chicken, yeah.
Yeah, you know the
That's
chicken.
what it's about.
That's
It's all
their
about the
badge
chicken.
is a chicken, isn't it?
Yeah.
What?
No, I
The
think
cockerel?
it's. I think
Yeah, it's a chicken. That's the same thing.
I think
just
it
a generic
originates from when
term.
they were a cricket club.
Chicken badge.
I might be getting all of this wrong, to be fair. But there was another Hotspur,
Leads
and
them into
therefore they
war.
added Tottenham to their name.
A Hotspur is a rash, impetuous person.
Listen, we haven't got
Late
time
Middle
to talk
English.
about this chicken
Literally, a person whose spur is hot from rash or constant riding.
thing. I know someone whose spurs always hot. It's John. He's always got a hot spur about something.
From rash or constant riding.
There's
yeah.
always something getting stuck in his craw. Now listen, there are multiple interpretations
Yeah.
of it. I think it doesn't matter. But you've got a bit more fight in you, so you care, and I salute you. What else did we talk
It's
about?
a reference to Harry Hotspur, who was a king from some point.
That was it.
It says here we did a section on La Liga, but we definitely didn't do that.
No, we didn't do
I
that.
mean, we didn't do anything even approaching.
Oh
that.
no, he's not a king. He's a sir.
I
Right.
made notes
just
on
a
it and
knight.
everything.
This is horrendous. This is an awful.
And you can see this live.
Oh, yeah.
The Walthamstow Soho Theatre.
Yeah.
Which has asked to be known as the Walthamstow
Yeah.
Soho Theatre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Not the Soho Theatre.
Well, no,
that's
because
not
the thing
it
is, what they
Theatre
would
Walthamstow.
say, the comparison would be to be asked to be known as the Soho Theatre, not the Walthamstow Soho Theatre. That would be the
That would
same
be a
thing.
nightmare for them though, because no one would turn up.
That's true. That's true. You'd have 900 people clamouring to get into the 50-room Soho Theatre. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
anyway,
don't remember
we're
what
on
date that
there.
is, but you can buy tickets for that. if
May
you
the
want.
24th.
26th. Let's just double check.
I mean, I looked
Jesus.
it up yesterday, but maybe my memory is
I think
that
it is
bad.
the 24th.
It's the 24th.
But you can turn up for the 26th
No, it's not.
at any of the
Oh, yeah,
Soho
sorry, I just saw the
theatres.
25, but that's the year. Jesus.
The thing is, it says Sat 24, May 25.
That is confusing.
But that's Saturday, the 24th of May, 2025.
Oh, that is confusing.
That's the
Don't
thing,
turn up
everyone's
last
getting
year
confused.
because
Yeah.
we won't be there.
We won't be. I mean, the theatre won't be there either. It's a new theatre.
It's true.
Anyway,
But the
has
Soho
been-
Theatre in Soho will be there.
Now you're banned from saying anything else. I can't even control you anymore. Shush up. Shush up. Okay. What was I saying? Oh yes, come and see us at the. Oh,
Tottenham Hotspur
never mind.
Stadium.
Just start the show. Just start the show. It's fine.
We play that game again.
Just start the show.
Can we go home now?
Yes. Where else to begin, of course, than with Saturday? Wow, what a day of football Saturday was. Forget about Sunday and the big game. I'm only interested in Saturday. And a bizarre assortment of results. All results, with the exception maybe of Spurs, that I wouldn't have expected. 2-2, Everton, Manchester United. That was a fun one. Looked a lot like Everton might win that one, and then they didn't. Wolves beat Bournemouth away from home. West Ham, of course, beat Arsenal away from home. Crystal Palace beat Fulham away from home. As mentioned already, Spurs beat Ipswich 4-1. Perhaps that's not as unexpected. Same maybe with Brighton, Hove Albion beating Southampton 4-0.
You should give us a list of your expected results.
Is that what you want?
Every week.
I can do that. I can go through every league if you'd like.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting Aston Villa to beat Chelsea 2-1 at home, but maybe I should have been. Maybe I'm the fool. Let's begin with Arsenal 0-1 West Ham, though. As we said, and just to reiterate for you, John, an unexpected result as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Not sure about you. I know you're a smart football guy, or at least that's what you keep texting me in the middle of the night. I'm a smart football guy. But unexpected?
Yeah, I mean, this one, definitely. Right?
Great.
Arsenal,
There you go.
1 West Ham, as you so wonderfully put it every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched the first half of this back this morning, actually, to see what was going on. I was pretty impressed by West Ham, actually.
Impressed Ham.
Impressed Ham,
Yeah.
that's right. Remarkably good for you on the fly,
Thank
I'd
you.
say.
Yeah.
It was a game that Graham Potter described as his team as being what was it, tactically disciplined
I think he said they did everything he asked them to tactically.
and more.
And more, yeah.
Yeah, and I think when a coach says that a team are tactically disciplined, I think he means we defended well.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
He means the win was my fault.
Yes, exactly.
Could you see it though? Can you see what he means?
Yeah. I mean, and you know, one of the things that you get from Graham Potter teams, I think, is that they will have a defensive plan to cause problems for the opposition, and they definitely did that in that game. They actually used a fairly unique, I think, formation. I've not seen. I mean, Potter will have used it before, obviously, but they used a 5-3-2 formation out of possession, which I thought was good for a number of reasons, because it meant that they could basically track Martin Odegaard the whole time. Obviously, Odegaard is one of the most important players in that team, with the absence of Bukayo Saka. So he's the creative hub, and they because they had a back five, they could use Aaron Cresswell, who was the centre back on Odegaard's side, to step up to jump onto him if the marker that he had on him stepped up onto someone else.
Right.
So they used Edson Alvarez on mainly tracking Odegaard, but at times he would jump into the front line, and if that happened, then Cresswell would jump up. So it just meant that
So he was always accounted for.
yeah, and you know, Odegaard is they move him around. He's quite a flexible player. He drops deep in build up, but basically West Ham just there was always someone in the vicinity of him at various times, and I thought that really influenced the ability for Arsenal to be creative. And yeah, they used Thomas Souček on the other side. They had James Ward-Prowse in the middle of that midfield. So you've got Souček on one side and Alvarez in the middle, and then Ward-Prowse is a bit more of a ball distributor in the middle. So you've got two fairly decent defensive options, but also you can use Thomas Souček as a box crasher as well. So in those attacking moments, he would actually run through the middle in between the two strikers and get into the box as well. So it just felt like they had like everyone was being played for a reason, and with respect to what Arsenal were trying to do, and everything came off. The players knew what they were doing. They acquitted themselves well, and I think that's why Potter was saying it was tactically disciplined performance from them. So yeah.
Well, much like Everton, West Ham now north of 30. Well, no, not north of 30. They're on 30 points, but the gap between them and Ipswich in 18th is 12 points. So I think it's all done for, isn't it? Which is presumably a rather nice feeling for West Ham fans. The season sort of doesn't matter now. All that they can enjoy for the rest of the year is watching Graham Potter continue, hopefully, to evolve that team. Arsenal, on the other hand, JJ, was this the weekend where the dream eventually... I mean, it was lying on the floor sputtering, but now that final hammer blow has come down and crushed the skull of the dream, hasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
The dream's become one of those dreams where you dream you've done a whole shift at work.
Right, and then you wake up.
And you wake up and you're like, oh no, I have to go and do that shift at work now.
Yeah.
That is the worst dream.
They are pretty bad, aren't
Yeah,
they?
really
Well,
bad.
and in the case of Arsenal, that dream leaves them 11 points behind. They do have a game in hand, so in theory it could be 8. But they said it rather well on Match of the Day on Saturday, I thought. That whoever the pundit was couldn't imagine that Arsenal was going to win every game for the rest of the season anyway. So even if they did, are Liverpool going to drop enough points for an 8-point gap? Probably not.
I think what you see with them as well is that, like, one of the things with Arsenal this season is I don't really enjoy watching it because it seems very, very structured. Like, they're very well coached, but they're like so coached that everything's done with almost little set plays all over the place, and they lost a lot of freedom, which comes from losing your best players like Saka and things like that. But then when you take away any sort of any freedom of decision and things like that, then you start getting quite dull games, and people can work out how to defend against you, how to block it down, where to press you, how to take out your most important players. Ranieri went off with an injury, which is bad for them as well because they don't have anyone really left.
Yeah.
Odegaard's numbers this year are really low. I didn't realise how not unproductive, but like what the difference is on last season. He's kind of down.
Do you mean
across the
averages
board.
per game? Because he was obviously injured for a long time.
Yeah, so you're per 90, he's down on basically every metric.
Right.
Weirdly, the one he's closest to is his expected goals per 90. But last season he scored he scored slightly over it, and this season he's scoring under it.
Yeah.
Don't know why that is. And I was talking to Adrian Clark last night, and he was talking about how it did feel like no one was making any decisions out with what they were told to within the structure. It's almost like you're playing a video game and you're stuck on only go certain angles, up, down, left, right, or diagonal.
You're playing sensible soccer.
Yeah, when you want to be able to use like the analog stick and go free and just go a bit off script, and they can't really do that sometimes, and that lets them down. But maybe you need the players to be able to do that, and if you want to control games like Arteta is to make sure they're getting better, it does make sense.
Yeah.
But I want to see some action.
Yeah.
I want to see Riquelme and Ronaldinho.
I mean, I would like to see them as well.
I would
We're not
watch
asking
that.
for much.
No, that and like Neymar when he was at Santos or Barcelona.
He's back at Santos now.
Well, the other one,
The other
younger
one.
Yeah.
past Neymar.
The previous edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you concur, Ruben? Do you feel bored?
Yeah, I mean, this game just reminded me of that Onion headline. Man who thought he'd lost all hope loses last additional bit of hope he didn't even know he still had.
Yeah.
Title race is dead now, isn't it? And I mean, I feel a bit for like Arsenal at the moment because I agree with everything JJ said about watching them play. Is they're good, but that's not necessarily fun. And obviously, in this game, it was one of those where that you are going to lose 1-0 to a really solid team that turn up sometimes. It was unlikely, but it does happen. But what else are they meant to do with the players that they have available at the moment? It kind of feels a bit like that. Like they've been over-reliant on Saka and Odegaard for a very long time, but when you have players of that quality, it's easy to see why a team becomes over-reliant on them.
Yeah.
And then when you're playing, like I know Mourinho had a great impact against Leicester, but when you're starting a defensive midfielder up top and, the few attackers that you do have left start to pick up knocks or whatever, then I feel for them a little bit.
Well, we'll see how they come back next season. As mentioned a couple of times now, they have had a serious injury issue this season to some key players. They've also missed players for other reasons, John. Now, something very interesting that they noted on Match of the Day. I wasn't aware of this statistic before they said it on there, but one of them there on Match of the Day pointed out that Arsenal have had 20 red cards under Mikel Arteta since he arrived, which is, quote, way more than any other team during that time period. I mean, I know that some Arsenal fans will point to a few of those more debatable ones, perhaps of this season, and say, well, that's bringing the overall number up. But it does feel as though this Mikel Arteta team get a few more red cards than maybe other teams. I mean, can you point to any reason for that, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot on this podcast about how Arsenal have sort of leaned into the defensive side of the game, made themselves really hard to score against. I think as a result of that, you put yourself in a position where you are going to be doing a lot of defending and a lot of, I mean, the more defending that you're doing, the more aggressive you're going to be in that defending, the more likely you are to give away fouls.
Wouldn't that mean that Man City would get more red cards there? Because I feel like they're often running back towards their own goal, you know?
I mean, they do give up tactical fouls,
Yeah.
I believe. But, yeah, I think with Arsenal, there's probably an aspect of, I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out of my arse on this, but it feels...
I don't know, that smell.
But yeah, I think I think that the way that they play is very much, you know, getting into these, maybe less so this season, but in previous seasons, getting man-to-man with your opponent, being aggressive in the actual action of...
In the actual action?
I don't know what I'm saying.
No, that's fine.
But yeah, I always thought the same was true for a team like Leeds United under Bielsa when they came up into the Premier League, because they were man-oriented in their out of possession. It meant that you often end up in these scenarios where the opponent receives the ball with their back to goal, and then there's a player right behind them just snapping into the tackle.
In the actual action.
In the actual action of tackling.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It works.
I wonder how much...
You tired this morning? Are you tired?
I'm feeling a bit like I'm going to come down with a cold imminently.
Well,
maybe
that's because
within
you're sat
I'll
opposite.
probably give it to you throughout
maybe in the
rest
course
this
of the
episode,
podcast.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to... I know Steve Hankey's ill today. He's not here. I'm just going to give him a call and get some words of advice for you.
Okay.
Like he would normally G you up ahead of a...
Hello.
Oh, hi, Steve Hankey. You're on the Tifo Football podcast.
Hello.
How's it going? How do you feel?
I feel better. Still a bit of a hacking cough and stuff, but, you know, better than I was maybe yesterday.
Great. Great.
Yes.
John's struggling to get going this morning. He's a bit tired, and I wondered if, because of your normally when you're here, you'd give him a nice, resolute, you know, big pat on the back and some motivating words, and I wondered if you would be able to just do that down the phone now.
Absolutely. What's wrong, John? What's wrong?
I just feel as though I'm coming down with a cold as well, Steve. So, you know, I'm struggling to keep my brain in gear.
Well, look, even you at 6 or 7 out of 10 is better than most people out there. So you just do what you can,
thanks,
and you will
man.
be brilliant, my friend.
If only Joe told me things like that on a regular occurrence, maybe I'd...
Yeah, it's a real balance between, you know, the sort of the morale.
Steve Hankey, bless him, he's ill today, isn't he? He's ill. But that was really nice what he said there, wasn't it? And it was true, you know.
Mikel Arteta said that he's really angry about the defeat, obviously, as you would think.
Right.
And he accepts responsibility for it, but they need to have fire in their tummies.
Yeah.
Going
Did
forward.
he say tummy?
He says it quite a lot. I just Googled it to try and find the quote, and I found him saying it a few times in the
Tummy.
past. It's
That's great.
He said, "We must have fire in the belly." Sounds
Right.
like a battle cry.
Maybe that's the problem, that
Fire in the tummy.
Arsenal have been drinking too much Gaviscon, you know,
That could be it.
to settle. Have you seen those adverts where there's
Yeah. What a
the
feeling.
inflamed nature of the innards is symbolised through
The
fire.
upper innards.
And then the Gaviscon is symbolised through a slippery little fireman sliding down your gullet and
Yeah.
putting it out with a nice
He's
looking...
like, "Woo!"
Yeah, it does look fun,
Yeah.
doesn't it? It
I
does
like
look
the Gaviscon
fun.
fireman. He's good.
Well,
You're right, though. They play on the edge, don't they? Like, because of the underdog mentality that he's tried to instill in their chase for a league title, I think that has the players all cranked up to 11, which can sometimes spill over into red card offences.
Is that it, Ruben, or is it the conspiracy?
Obviously, it's Pugmole that have rigged it all for them,
Did you call them Pugmole?
yeah.
I call them Pogmole, but you say Pugmole.
Well, there's no O between.
No, I know, but you know, you can imagine an O.
Yeah.
You're allowed to throw any vowel you want.
I've gone
in.
for a more neutral vowel there.
Yeah.
Pugmole.
Pigmole.
It's like calling Batman.
Yeah, Batman.
He's a real Batman.
Superman.
It's funny when people do that.
Batman.
Opening
Don't
the
fear,
opening the
Gotham
batting
City.
for England.
Aye,
Batman's
Bruce Wayne.
coming.
Batman.
Batman?
Ahoy there.
Don't-
Ahoy, Gotham.
Don't fear, superhero world. Superman is flying around the world and taking it back in time.
Ah,
for
my old
Lois
friend,
Lane.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. And then, of course, Superman married Lois Lane, and everything was fun.
Did they get married?
I don't know. I didn't watch it. I used to watch a bit of Smallville when
Then
I
she
was
became
very
Lois Mann, right? That's
Lois
how it works. He took his name.
Loisman.
Yeah, Loisman. Well, I feel like if Steve Hankey was here, he'd be wrapping us up as we speak. I can feel his hands spinning in the air.
That's
in
a really
Cambridge.
good joke I've not heard before, though. That's really funny.
Loisman.
Yeah, taking Superman's last name is funny. His last name is Man.
Mrs. Superman.
Batman.
Now, what are we doing? Oh, yes, I guess the other thing before we have a quick break is Manchester City, Liverpool. I sort of thought this was a little boring.
What? It was very important.
Did you? Yeah, well, sort of. I guess so.
Liverpool basically won the league.
Yeah, they did. They did do that. And after drawing, of course, to Everton midweek, it did seem as though, there was perhaps a little gap there for Arsenal to come back in. All I'm aware of with this game, because I stopped watching at half-time, JJ, was there were two strikerless formations with very... Oh, wait, I've read the wrong thing. What do you think about
that's
the game?
correct.
Well,
Yeah?
John did a video on that this morning. You should probably ask John.
Oh,
that.
did he?
Yeah.
Hello?
I did, yes.
Yeah? All right, go on.
Yeah, both teams played without a conventional striker.
Wow.
I don't know what that means.
convection striker.
Conventional striker. Confection striker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
only
fan
turn on-
assisted.
The pitch has to be on for
I mean,
them
all
to work.
players,
Yeah.
all players technically are fan assisted in some sense, right?
Except during COVID, and that's why Liverpool's last challenge
Doesn't count. That's
because
right,
it wasn't
isn't it,
fan
JJ?
assisted.
Were they actually strikerless though, or were they just playing midfielders in that role? Like,
Yeah,
how
well,
were they
there you go.
actually doing the
That's
role?
the question, right?
Yeah.
Is that people think false nine just means someone who isn't a striker, right?
Right.
As though the false means they're being deceptive or
Like
something.
false widow.
It's like, you mean slightly
false widows
false.
still kill, don't they? Yeah.
Whereas
Do they?
Oh yeah.
the false of a false nine refers to them like not actually being in the nine position. They often drop out.
Right.
But yeah, I think both teams essentially did use their false nines as false nines, which was quite fun.
Right. Great.
The video that I actually thought that Liverpool were really good in terms of how they covered. It was Omar Mamouche and Phil Foden.
Yeah.
Because they're players that they're very flexible. They move around. They try and drag you apart and cause problems. And the big dilemma is: do your centre backs track those players and leave space in the back line, or do you find ways of mitigating that? And I thought Liverpool were pretty good at doing that. They used two central midfielders, so they had Gravenberch and
McAllister.
McAllister. Yeah. McAllister.
Yeah.
As covers for that as well, and they had to have a degree of flexibility in when they did that. Whereas City did something a bit different because they only had Nico Gonzalez as the covering midfielder, which was fine because the reason why Liverpool had their two central midfielders is because at times Kevin De Bruyne was pushing into that space as well. So you have the two centre backs, the two centre midfielders, and then three City players often in that spot. So you always had a spare player to sit in the back line to make sure you didn't lose any coverage in the middle at all. Whereas for Liverpool, they weren't getting their central midfielders forward as much, which meant that City only needed to have one midfielder helping the two centre-backs. So you always got an extra player. But the area where things became a problem were in defensive transitions because in moments of defensive transition, what happens is your back line drops to cover the space. And when you do that, I think there were the false nines for Liverpool were able to sort of hang back, let the back line drop, and then there was only Nico Gonzalez able to cover both of those players. And because City were trying to dominate possession, I think City had over 60% possession.
Right.
Liverpool sitting deeper and trying to hit on the break, it meant that in those scenarios just arose a lot for City, where Liverpool were able to get in behind. It meant that their two false nines were actually a little bit behind play. They found space in the pocket, and the second goal came from Szoboszlai, basically in that sort of situation where he found space in behind the back line. Nico Gonzalez wasn't able to track him, and then he scored the second goal. So yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. But I thought Liverpool defended in those deeper areas really well. I thought because it is tricky to track fluid movement of players.
It's the first time Slot's done that false nine thing this season, isn't it? Because I know Diaz has played as a number 9 a lot, and maybe he's interpreted that in his own way. But I
think Jota does it quite a lot. Jota does it quite a lot when he plays.
Yeah. Fair.
But I think with the double, the first time really with like a quite, and this was very pronounced. This was like the wingers are more advanced than the two forward players.
Yeah.
So if you look at the footage for goal kicks, you can see Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones dropping really quite deep in, with the idea of like creating that dilemma, and then often trying to get your fullbacks, your wide players 1v1 against the opposition fullbacks in behind. So
To the point it was listed on like who scored as being a 4-2-2-2.
yeah, I saw that.
Except the 2 would be really wide. Yeah.
You know who I was thinking of yesterday? Jose Callahan. Remember him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Real
He was
Madrid,
good, wasn't he?
Napoli. He was excellent under Sarri at Napoli.
That's what that one I was thinking of when he played with Mertens on the other wing.
And, well, Mertens played as a, well, people said false nine. He was actually a proper striker at
Oh.
Napoli.
Who was on the other wing then?
Lorenzo Insigne.
Oh, Lorenzo Insigne. That was a great
Oh.
forward line.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Lovely
He's a good
three. Very good. Don't know why that just popped into my head. Alas, Manchester City, 44 points after that loss. They are fourth, although on equal points to Newcastle United. So be curious to see how that pans out as far as the rest of the season goes. We all recall that as the coefficient currently stands, I think England are likely to be presented with that fifth Champions League spot. So as it stands, Newcastle would also qualify. But AFC Bournemouth there, John, just 1 point shy, same as Chelsea, 2 off with Aston Villa. It's really tight up there. And
Is there a question heading my way?
no, there's a break heading your way.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Aston Villa 2, 1 Chelsea, Ruben Pinder. Isn't it lovely to see Marcus Rashford playing so well and seeming to have a good time?
I do really love to see it. Yeah, I mean, Rashford, you're seeing the player that everybody knew existed, but for some reason wasn't like performing at Man United. Obviously, Ruben Amorim did. There must have been something that he couldn't overlook in terms of his kind of treatment of Rashford, in terms of leaving him out of so many matchday squads. But it is just another example of a player seemingly unsettled or unhappy at Man United who leaves to a happier, more functional environment and becomes really good again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a weird trick that Man United does to your brain, where you convince yourself that players are bad and then they leave and you're like, oh no, they were always quite good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to see, because you know, everybody loves Marcus Rashford, don't they?
It really is an incredible trick that they play. I don't know why they play it, though. It has no value.
It's pretty counterproductive
for
for them, isn't it?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's contributing goals, well, not necessarily scoring, but he's the assister for both of their goals against Chelsea, JJ.
That's correct.
Are you also enjoying seeing him?
It's fine. I like Marco Asensio.
He scored both of the goals.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's really good. And
But he's not of these isles. And therefore, every conversation starts with Marcus
But
Rashford.
he's also had a bit of an up and down time of his
Sure,
career. You know, he
sure.
emerged as a banger merchant at Real Madrid, just kept on
Sure.
slapping goals.
Asensio came
top
through
end.
as like one of the top
Yeah.
like wonder kids in the world. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so good.
But he was born in a different place, just to be clear.
He was.
He's not English, and therefore I do not care.
Well, that's what do you think about John McGinn?
Yeah, I like him. I think he's English. Eh?
I see.
Hey?
Interesting.
For the listeners, I don't mean these things. What I was trying to do, it's sort of a failed bit, but what I was trying to do there was play the role of someone who would only be interested in English football players to highlight the how amusing sometimes the national press here can be. Where you're absolutely right, JJ. Asensio scored 2 lovely goals, and you're absolutely right, Ruben. He's had a bit of a crevasse, and then a climbing back up of the crevasse in his career. Fascinating story. But because he's not English, I don't care. Except I do. Well, the truth is, I don't care about any of these things all equally. But talk about whoever you want.
Keeper should have done better with his goal, but it was still.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that's true. But Asensio, like we said, was a superstar wonder kid coming through at Real Madrid, and then I think what's happened is he got a bit of a bad injury that derailed his career a bit, which is a shame. But then he's come, so you've got a Real Madrid and PSG player playing for Aston Villa now, and it makes them better, and he can play anywhere across that front line. And does that and swaps around with like Morgan Rogers and all the rest of the lads around that front bit. So I just think he makes them a lot better. They've got better squad depth. Just from him and Rashford, they're a better team.
I really like the fact that Villa's attackers are all quite versatile. Like you can reshuffle that front four quite easily and create different kinds of threats. Like Asensio has played probably mostly on the right as a left footer cutting in at Real Madrid and PSG, but he's kind of more naturally a 10. Whereas Rashford's played obviously as a 9 and as a left winger. Morgan Rogers seems to be able to play anywhere. You can put him at fullback, he'd do a great job. So they've got a nice array of options there.
I agree.
Oh, I ran out of time. I was trying to find good facts about Marco Asensio, but I didn't find any.
Well, here's one. That injury that JJ refers to was bad, but it wasn't a more trivial injury he once sustained while shaving his legs.
Was Marco Asensio, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had a Tifo video
couldn't
about
get his
that.
socks up.
Right, yeah.
He had like an ingrown hair.
He unintentionally created a pimple.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. That's right.
That sounds implausible to me.
Yeah, there were some other ones though.
Would stop you from pulling your socks up.
There was one where somebody dropped a bottle of perfume and it
Santiago
smashed.
Canizares, was that?
It might have
the
been,
World
yeah.
Cup, and that
Yeah.
was why Casillas got his place in the Spain team.
Wasn't
That's
it Mark
right.
Crossley who dropped a bottle of mayonnaise on his foot?
Yeah.
And broke his foot.
I don't know if it was Mark Crossley or not, but someone dropped a bottle of mayonnaise. Hey, we've all been there. We've all dropped our mayo.
I once sustained an injury playing PlayStation.
Sustained. That's
While,
a good use of the word.
During the summer holidays, my brother and I used to do week-long courses of like tennis or squash or some kind of racket sport in Wimbledon, right? And
Nice if you can have it, isn't it? I spent the summers week-long courses in the mud, digging in
Milking
the dirt,
cows.
milking whatever I could find, you know.
And we also at the time used to enjoy playing SmackDown versus Raw on the PlayStation 2.
I liked that game.
Yeah. Now, do you remember the Royal Rumbles? You used to have to button mash to eliminate people.
Yeah.
Right? So we had one of those dodgy unofficial controllers where the buttons came up quite high off the surface. And while button mashing, I gave myself a huge thumb blister.
Oh, no.
And then had to go to my squash lesson the day afterwards and explain to the coach that I'd injured myself playing PlayStation.
It's a
Wow.
wrestling injury.
Yeah, he was not impressed.
Incredible. You had a hard childhood.
I really did, you know.
Yeah. Not like John, huh?
Yeah, really easy childhood myself. Yeah.
Really straightforward.
I actually injured myself yesterday playing football, but not while I was playing football. When I was walking off the court, I twisted my
You were
ankle.
shaving your legs
on
and
a-
created a pimple.
Yeah.
How are you feeling now?
All right, I've got quite a dodgy ankle on my right foot.
Dodgy ankle?
Which I've injured many times. So there's
Right.
barely any ligaments in there now. So it's touch and go as to whether it will last very long. 'Cause sometimes it just gets better in a couple of days, but I can feel it right now.
Well, there's a lot of strain on those ligaments because they are the support for an incredible amount of power.
There is a look in your eyes right now that I don't like.
Do you remember, Eden Hazard?
I do remember Eden Hazard.
And I always think Raheem Sterling and Eden Hazard had a quite similar run, their style of running where they had their bums pushed out a little bit. John's got that style.
John McGinn does it as well.
John McGinn does it too, yeah. It's a very effective style. Yaya Toure wrote a great piece for The Athletic about it, using your bum to shield people off the ball. But
Because I have pelvic tilt.
Yeah. I feel like you should be measured in horsepower or something, such as the makeup of your body.
Yeah, I'm getting old, Joe. I think the horses are waning when it comes to my body.
They're certainly whinnying, But they're not whinnying over at Aston Villa because, of course, Aston Villa have made it to the round of 16 in the Champions League.
Oh, I have this weird thought that they might win the whole thing. It just feels like they could.
I'd love it. I think they could, JJ, because they play Club Brugge on the 12th of March.
Yes.
In the round of 16. One would assume that they have the wherewithal to get through that fixture, the fire in their bellies. And moving on from there, they would play. I mean, they're arguably on the harder side of the draw.
Yes,
a little tricky.
I realise this bit.
I don't even think it's arguable. They're on the harder.
They're on the harder side of the draw because they would meet one of PSG or Liverpool. But
would
easy.
Asensio be allowed to play? He would, wouldn't he? UEFA don't have that. I think UEFA allow it because I remember Patrick Roberts scoring for Celtic against City. Shut up. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's good. No,
Yeah.
that's good. And then if they were to navigate that tricky old drop,
when they beat them,
they're most likely to come up against one of perhaps Real Madrid or Arsenal. So it's not a straightforward. It's not a saunter to the.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why they could do it.
Tell me why,
Well,
JJ.
three.
Yeah.
Number one.
3 reasons.
Number one. Marcus Rashford's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was born
Yeah.
here. He was born here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number two. Unai Emery knows how to get through European Cup ties
Yeah.
and win that.
What do they call him? The technician?
Yes, they do call him that.
Is that right?
The technician wizard, I believe they call him.
Yeah.
Technical
The
wizard.
technical wizard.
And 3, belief.
Belief.
They believe.
You believe.
I believe.
Yeah.
Unai Emery's record in Europe is amazing, which makes it even more astonishing that he oversaw that PSG collapse against Barcelona.
True.
They had a 4-goal lead. It's ridiculous.
That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone will underestimate them. They come out and be like, oh,
Yeah.
well, they're good, but we'll beat them. That's what they'll think. And then they won't.
Yeah.
What would be the most comparable run from the past? Would it be like when Porto won it in 2004, Liverpool 2005, maybe? Something like that. Maybe Chelsea
Porto's
2012.
probably quite a good comparison because Aston Villa are clearly a very good team. I mean, we're talking about the players they have today. They have amazing players.
I'd say they're better than the Chelsea team that won it in 2012.
They may well be. Yeah. Well, let's find out. Anyway, the point is, it's all very exciting. Football's exciting. Forget about the Premier League title
So
challenge.
Villa have beaten Chelsea, who are losing to everyone, and we've decided they're going to win the Champions League. That's what's happened here.
That's correct. And because
of
Chelsea
Marcus
lost
Rashford.
to Aston Villa, John, we've also decided that they're screwed now as well.
Yeah, nice.
Because they obviously, they spent a lot of that money. They created a big stacked squad. Now, I think it's something that they haven't won a game since Christmas or something, isn't it? They've had a bit of
It's been a while, yeah.
tricky run.
Yeah, it's funny because the numbers, the underlying numbers, look fine.
The numbers that lie under.
And there's always a weird scenario, right, where your underlying numbers look good, but you just don't seem to be able to buy wins from anywhere. And the question is, is something going on here that isn't reflected in the numbers? I wouldn't like to comment on that because I don't know. But
Right.
I'll just say that by way of defending myself from saying the underlying numbers look fine. I think we talked about Chelsea in the show last week, but we had a podcast where we asked whether or not Chelsea were title contenders.
Right.
Which,
A while ago.
A while ago.
Yeah.
And the answer to that has clearly proven to be no.
Yeah.
No one is title contenders now because Liverpool look like they've won the league.
Here's a question,
Congratulations
though.
to them.
Do you remain title contenders if it's not mathematically certain, but you're the only one? Can you contend against yourself?
What are you asking if Liverpool are contending for the title with Liverpool?
Are Liverpool, by definition,
right,
title
title
contenders in this moment, despite the fact
Yeah, I
that...
mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they could
until
still
they-
lose it. Because
yeah.
if
Right.
it was mathematically impossible for Arsenal to win the league, Liverpool would already be champions.
I know it's mathematically impossible, but it's also, like, in reality, impossible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, not actually in reality, but the chances of it happening are so slim.
Probabilistically.
Probabilistically, it's not going to
It's not
happen,
gonna
right? So in that sense, are Liverpool still contenders, or are they? What do they call it when a king is
In
ready
in
in
waiting.
waiting, or when
Champions elect.
elect? They're champions elect, but isn't champions elect? Yeah, no, that's just when it's expected, right?
It's after somebody's won an
That's-
election before they've been
Yeah.
Right.
anointed.
Yeah,
No, that's technically what happens between full time and then receiving the Premier League trophy.
Yeah.
that's true.
In waiting, I think it works.
Champions in waiting.
Champions in waiting.
Yes.
Anyway, either way, we talked about Chelsea, and I think at the time what we said Maresca had done well is that he'd implemented a fairly simple structure for his players to vibe out in.
Sure.
And we made the point at that time.
I like the way you said vibe out there. You said it like you were a
Vibe
teacher
out.
with some 11-year-old children in the school class. And what Einstein did was create a chemical structure for the elements to vibe out in children.
That's a good example, I would say.
Yeah.
Although Einstein a bit more of a theoretical physicist, I would say, than a chemist.
I don't know. Scientist.
Yeah, but and we talked at the time saying, that can be, giving your team a simple structure to work in can often be great when you've got really good players in it. But the problem becomes if it becomes too predictable,
Yeah.
teams will start, and you're relying on your players vibing out. And I think what's started to happen is that those players are not vibing out as much as they are, and so they're not getting perhaps as much out of their system as they could be getting. At the same time, we also mentioned in the show last week, JJ showed a graph where it shows that Chelsea are creating much less from fast breaks than they were, and in part that's because Enzo Maresca probably wants to have more control in games.
Right.
Which I think raises questions about the personnel that they have. Clearly, that team were very good at generating chances through fast breaks. Because if you look at the same graph for last season, you can see it ramping right up at the end of the season, which is when Chelsea actually started getting a bit better under Pochettino.
Yeah.
So it seemed as though what was happening is that they've got a squad of players who are quite good in those transitional moments, and were generating chances through them. generally what that means is that you'll create fewer chances, but those chances will be higher, easier to score. And what we've seen this season has been the opposite movement that suggests they're going from creating those fewer chances but better chances to more chances but against more settled defences. So the question then could be, well, is this a personnel thing? Is this something that will improve with time? They are generating those chances. Presumably those chances are slightly lower than they were at the beginning of the season. I don't know the data on that, so don't quote me on that. But I think there could either be a situation here where you're thinking, well, we need to bring in players who are better suited to play in this new style, or we just need to wait for the players to get more used to breaking down low blocks. And there will be an element as well to the fact that teams will say, if we're going to let a game get transitional against Chelsea, they're going to kill us. Cole Palmer is going to hurt us in those transitional moments. So let's be a little bit more conservative. Let's sit a little bit deeper and stop them from doing that. So there's a lot going on there. But I at this point, I wouldn't say that the issues are terminal. But the question is, how do they proceed from here?
It's quite a fun one, isn't it? Because you would think with most teams, often the first stop for an answer for a question like this, how do we fix some of these problems, is, well, maybe in the summer we'll get a new player. But in Chelsea's case, I'm not to say that they won't do any more transfer business, because that would be a silly prediction to make. But they've already done all of their transfer business, I think, for forever. I don't think they're allowed to buy any more players forever, maybe. So it's quite an interesting notion, isn't it? You get 24 incredible footballers in all in one go, and then you have to find other different solutions to problems that might crop up, because unless you can shift these very well paid expensive players off your books and sell them, you can't really just keep bringing in more players to fix the same problems.
But they don't have a backup striker to Nicholas Jackson, and Jackson can't play every single game. And the backup they've got is Mark Yu, who's I think they bought him because it was just a good deal, because his release clause was so low. And so if it works out, great, and if it doesn't, they can sell him at a profit almost inevitably. So that just makes sense. I mean, he did okay when he played for Barcelona a couple of times. But
it's not a sustainable backup, though, is it, for a Premier League team wanting to...
I mean, it does okay, yeah. I mean, that's his point. And the problem with having a backup, if Jackson is going to be your number 1, number 9, then you need him... I've confused myself.
Yeah, you've confused me. He's
number 1, He's your number 1, number 9. He's your first choice striker. So he's your striker. Interesting analysis, good, cogent point, conclusion.
Yeah.
And that's why.
And a thankful reception from host. Let's take another quick break, and when we come back, I was going to say we should play the midweek game, but because somebody won it 2 weeks ago.
Mark Carey won it,
Did you play it last week?
Yeah, Ruben started it last week.
Ruben started it last week. Yeah. Well, I was going to suggest a sojourn for 1 week from the midway game to see if you might be able to help us play the game that you took to the streets of Tottenham the other day. So we'll be back and we'll play a very exciting game that I don't know the name of. Welcome back from the break, gang. Now, we've got 2 quick games here for you, a little inversion. The first one is Ruben's game that he took to the streets of London last week to make a video for the Athletic FC. Ruben, can you explain the game? And then I believe JJ's seen the video resulting from this game, so we can only play it with John. But explain the game.
So it's pretty simple. I give you 2 players, and you have to tell me someone who's played with both of them at club level.
Oh.
And then I take that answer and put it into the next question, and we just do that like 4 times.
So example would be Rooney and Fabregas, and the answer would be Van Persie.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. You got it, John?
Got it.
Here we go.
Tell me a player who's played with Harry Kane and Cristiano Ronaldo at club level.
Christian Eriksen.
Correct.
Oh, it was quick.
Christian Eriksen and Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh.
Dun, dun. Club level.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun. Dun, dun.
Christian Eriksen and
Kevin De Bruyne.
I couldn't even remember the name of one of the
I've
players.
seen the video and I don't know the answer.
I don't remember the answer either.
Is there definitely someone
Yeah.
who worked out all of the permutations?
No, but I used my instinct to think this is where most people will go, and that will work.
So it's City and
where did Christian Eriksen spend a long time?
Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who went from Spurs to City and played with both of them?
Kyle Walker.
Correct.
Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker and Lionel Messi.
Oh, wow. Surely there's none.
There's someone at Milan now, presumably, who's played with Messi.
Oh, who could that be?
There might be. I don't know.
Where's Messi even played? Barcelona?
Yeah.
What a
And
question.
played at PSG
Oh, yeah, PSG.
and Inter Miami.
Kyle Walker and
Lionel
Barcelona.
It's quite tricky, isn't it?
Ferran Torres.
Messi. Did not play with Messi at Barca.
Who's the answer, Ruben?
Yaya Toure.
Oh,
Right.
Yaya Toure and Robin van Persie. It's actually quite a lot of these.
Yaya Toure and Robin van Persie. Mikel Silvestre,
Where did he play with Yaya Toure?
City.
Silvestre played for City.
No, not City. Clichy.
Gael Clichy,
Gael
there we
Clichy.
go. Could have also had Samir Nasri, Bakary Sagna, Kolo Toure, all the Arsenal,
All the Toures.
all the Arsenal traitors that went to City in their early Sheikh Mansour era. So yeah, that's the fun game.
Okay.
And I'm going to try more of it soon.
it was fun. It's actually quite difficult, isn't it? Now, here's my version of the game, which
Yeah.
I tried to get Ruben to take out to the streets of London. Ruben came back and said the streets couldn't handle. The streets weren't ready for how
I had
tough
to
this game is.
simplify it big time on the day. Yeah.
And what we just heard is the simplified version of the game I thought would be good. Now, this is basically just that, you're aware of the Kevin Bacon game. It's it's a six degrees of separation. This is all it is, really. There's no wrong answers, technically, in this game. What you're doing is competing with each other to find the shortest route between two players. And in the same way that you just played it with Ruben, if I give you two players, for example, and this is the game, Gabriel Agbonlahor and Diego Maradona, you have to tell me a player, you can start at either end, but a player that Gabriel Agbonlahor played with, who played at a different club, who played with someone who played at a different club, who played with Diego Maradona, and you want to find the fewest number of connections as possible, those connections being the number of teams in between. So we're going to take a pause now, and we're going to give you both, don't talk to each other, going to give you both 2 minutes to find your route, okay?
From Gabi Agbonlahor
To Diego Maradona. I mean, maybe that's too hard. Okay,
No,
let's
I think
change
it's
Diego
doable.
Maradona.
I think it's doable.
You think it's doable?
I think it's doable.
All right, Ruben's confident. You can use your computers if you choose, but you can't. You've only got 2 minutes, and then you can't tell each other what the routes are. Okay, when we come back, we'll see who can claim the shortest route. And time's up. Now, it seems like this is a very hard game. I have an answer. I've just found an answer in the same space of time that we've been talking about it, okay? But it seems like, John, you don't have an answer?
No, I think I went the wrong way about it. I think I should have started with Maradona and worked my way towards Agbonlahor.
That's what I did.
Oh, I went the other way.
I went Maradona backwards. Yeah, or forwards in time, I suppose.
I went Agbonlahor, played with Adama Traore,
Right.
which got me to Barcelona,
Right.
which then got me to, I think he played with Sergio Aguero, and I was like, Sergio Aguero must have played with someone Argentine who
Sure.
played with Maradona,
Yeah.
but then didn't
But
make the
are we
link.
doing clubs only though?
We're doing clubs only.
Well, I was
Right.
thinking
Sure,
there was
yeah.
an Argentine player that he would have played with.
It's a tough game, John. Try again next week. JJ, have you got one?
I do have one.
Uh-huh. But is it clubs only?
No, I've got it now, yeah.
Right, okay. How many? Claim how many?
So
Including the starting and ending club.
I'm doing the clubs.
So in this case, if you were to say, for example, that your Gabi Agbonlahor club is Aston Villa
Yeah.
and your Diego Maradona club is Napoli, then
Sure.
that's 2 clubs already.
Okay, 3 clubs.
I've got 3 clubs as well.
Absolute nonsense.
All right,
Go
go
on.
on. Go.
James Milner played with Gabi Agbonlahor at Aston Villa.
Uh-huh.
James Milner played with Carlos Tevez at Manchester City.
Uh-huh.
And Carlos Tevez played with Diego Maradona at Boca Juniors.
Really?
Apparently.
Really?
You said we could use computers, so...
I mean, they surely can't cross over.
Well...
Didn't Maradona retire in the early 90s?
Look,
No, he played till he was like 50.
I am
97.
I am fully cheating. So
Well, I cheated too.
Oh,
That's
okay.
fine. Well, it's not cheating because this would be very difficult. This specific game would be very
What, so
difficult.
you
That
just-
absolutely-
do you just
that
go
absolutely
Google
doesn't
how
count.
can I link these
No,
players?
My rule
Google, it's not 1995 anymore.
rule is that I use.
No, I tried to use ChatGPT to help me write this quiz for the Vox Pop,
It
and
doesn't
it
work.
doesn't
It
work.
doesn't
It
work,
doesn't
yeah.
understand. Diego Maradona left Boca Juniors at the end of his career in 1997. Carlos Tevez made his first appearance for their senior team in 2001. Incorrect.
They never played together.
Don't upset the
They
robots.
They never played together. Did you try to use? Did you use ChatGPT?
Obviously, yeah.
That's cheating.
He said we could use the computers.
No, I meant you could use like transfer market and Wikipedia.
Well, that's
Well, I
what
can't
I
do
did.
that.
That's what I
That's
did.
what I did as
Yeah.
well. You tell me what yours is now, Ruben.
Gabi Agbonlahor played with Juan Pablo Angel, at Aston Villa.
Ooh.
He played with Juan Pablo Sorin
Yep.
at Argentinos Juniors.
Uh-huh.
And he played with Ciro Ferrara at Juventus,
Yep.
who had joined Juventus from Napoli, where he played with Diego Maradona.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's really good.
That's really nice.
I'm really bad at these kinds of quizzes.
I've got 3. I can do it in 3.
on.
So this is genuinely good. Okay. Diego Maradona played at Napoli, of course, with Gianfranco Zola. Did you know that?
Yes,
Didn't know
that
that.
is
That's cool.
Very exciting.
So you're already at Chelsea if you want.
Gianfranco Zola played with Carlton Cole at Chelsea. Right, so that's now I'm on 2. And Carlton Cole played at Aston Villa with Gabby Agbonlahor for
really
1
good.
season.
Oh, well
That's
done,
really-
Joe. That's really good.
Oh, it's a fun game.
Yeah, it's
a
good.
fun game. Well, we should name it. Maybe another time. What have we got left to talk about? We've got to rush now through Everton 2 to Manchester United. Not loads to say on Manchester United here, but on Everton. Goodness me. JJ Bull. Moyes unbeaten in the league since his first game against Villa. 14 points from 7 league games. That's including the Villa loss.
Yes.
Everton very clearly safe from relegation now, as we said earlier. Moving into their new stadium at the end of the season. I mean, it feels like things are all a go-go.
Yes, they're playing with intent and some optimism. They can see the bright light at the end of the tunnel, and they're trying to get out of the cave of despair that they've been in for so long.
Yeah.
You must stay in the cave and do as I say. And now they're allowed to exit into the light, the lightness outside.
Yeah.
And they're doing that with fire in their tummies.
Well, Beto's certainly got fire in his tummy. He scored
Yeah, he's
5
doing well.
goals in 6 Premier League games.
Well, he says it's just because he's been given some confidence, but I mean that's
Right.
easy to say, right? Because you can be told you're really good, then you go and do it, and it doesn't really work out, and then that didn't work. There's lots of hindsight management, but I think what probably has happened is that change of regime sounds like an odd way, but like
There's been a regime change.
there's been regime change at Everton. That has given players a bit more freedom. They are encouraged to go forward more and rely less on set plays and rigidity. They get players in the box, they get forward, they snap into tackles. I thought Idrissa Gueye was really good in this game. There's a really good moment where he wiped out Casemiro completely. Do you remember that tackle?
He crunches, it's lovely. Yeah.
It's not symbolic. It's not one of those things that the newspaper
Sure.
writers would be like, and it was this moment in time that we saw the crossover
Yeah.
of the guard. But it was a thing where he's like, right, okay, that's a bit there. I think Garner was very good as well in the midfield. I thought they were unfortunate that once Fernandes scored that free kick, United started trying and got a bit of belief about themselves.
Yeah.
Just a bit of momentum towards the end of the game. And I thought Everton had everything in the first half and the first 60 minutes that Man United have lacked all season. Fire in the tummies.
Yeah, fine. Do you feel, here's a question, because there used to be many more Scottish managers in the Premier League.
Yes.
And now there's just one, I think.
Just Moyes.
Do you feel a kinship with Moyes on account of your shared nationality? Or because you would have been spoilt for choice before, and I imagine that seeing a Scottish Premier League manager was like, well, there's a dozen eggs in a box, what are you going to do? I don't care. But now there's only one. Do you like Moyes more?
I've thought about this quite a lot, and there is probably a sort of shared kinship or something about it.
Yeah.
But then within Scotland's also an interesting place, because I would probably feel maybe more Aberdonian than I would feel Scottish, but then it depends who's playing at the time. If Scotland are playing, I feel Scottish.
Is he Glaswegian, Moyes?
Glaswegian, yeah.
Right.
So there's very subtle divides between, not divides, but the differences between different cities as there are in any
Sure.
country.
Some very unsubtle divides as well, isn't there?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And that is actually really relevant. There are some very non-subtle divides between certain cities in Scotland. But we've in the past, you had Walter Smith, Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously David Moyes. That's all of them.
Right.
I mean,
Eric Black.
Alex McLeish.
Mark McGee, yeah, all the rest of them, Alex McLeish, yeah. But there's something, I don't know, something to it. There's I think you assume a certain simplicity or back to basicsness of Scottish
Sure.
managers.
Yeah.
So they fire up the players and get them going, and it's
Yeah.
almost like they deny them the opportunity to be clever tacticians or just simply good technically with what they do with players.
Sure.
Whereas Moyes is a very good technical coach and does well
Yeah.
with players that he improves. And then that'll be coaching, but also a bit of man management. And maybe that's what some Scottish managers have done really well, is manage people very well.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know what that is.
Is
Maybe
that
it's 'cause they're better.
English arrogance and ignorance, just assuming that everybody north of the wall is like a dinosaur? Do you think that attitude?
I don't know. There's probably a little bit of us versus them that comes into being Scottish. There's a lot when you grow up in school. There's a lot of anti-Englishness that goes on, and
You would know, of course, because you're from England.
Yeah, I experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I'm not from England. I'm from Scotland, and that's like my button because that fires me up. Because
I know that's your button.
Yeah,
that's why I like to press it sometimes.
And it's funny because then you accidentally don't realise you're even doing the reverse of it, which is bad sometimes.
Yeah. Because your parents were born in London, of course.
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. So really, you're sort of in Ireland. They
I know,
call you
but
a blow-in, don't they?
Oh, I don't really know.
No.
But like, what I mean, if a dolphin's born in the sea, it's
took a long time
sea
to go.
dolphin.
If a dolphin's born in the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's born on land,
It's a land dolphin.
it's a land dolphin.
Yeah.
So,
I think
But
we
what if
should
it was-
steer
what if
away
it
from
was-
birthright citizenship chat, to be honest.
That's true. I'm bringing it back to Asensio, not from these isles. Yeah.
I don't really know. I thought I'd go with the dolphin bit and ride it. But
Fine.
Everton were very good, though. You're right.
They were good.
Especially without the ball compared to Manchester United, who just seemed to look ponderous and
Oh my God.
uninspired without the ball.
I thought they looked much better when they moved Fernandes to the centre midfield role.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what do you think? Do you watch the game?
No.
No. So, like, I don't know if you've watched other Man United games recently, but Fernandes played in the left attacking mid role, like that one there. But I can't tell whether it's tactical, whether he's been told to do it or whether he's doing it naturally. He just keeps dropping, so he's level with the two centre mids. So they've got a three, like a imbalanced three across that bit there. He gets on the ball and he can move it around. But then that means that, like, especially Xerxes has to come over to the left side, which means the right is free, but then the right wing back's not going up. So it must disrupt the structure and means that then everything falls apart by him doing that. And it's the simplest solution is to put him in centre midfield next to someone who can be the defensive.
I regret to inform you there's no time to answer the question. If Steve Hankey was here, he would have told me a long time ago, I think, that we've got to wrap up because we've still got to play points are bad before we go. But maybe this is a conversation we can have on... It sounded like it was going to be a great one. I was frothing to hear John's answer.
That's what I want to hear John talk about.
Welcome to Points Are Bad, the game in which the points, they really are bad. Now, John, you had a good week, didn't you? Yeah, you did, because in my absence, you picked 1-1.
It was just a tribute to you, really. I missed you so much in the show. I thought, what would Joe do? I'll go for a 1-1 here.
Thank you. And then you went for a 1-0. So you predicted 1-1 to Real Madrid, Manchester City. You added 2 points there. But you did predict completely accurately a 1-0 Aberdeen win over Kilmarnock, and you added 0 there. So you only added 2 overall. You had to share, though, your rights with Steve Hankey as Seb. Because Steve Hankey as Seb also only added 2. Congratulations to the pair of them. Ruben as me and JJ, we shared adding 4 each. And so as it stands, the current scores are JJ still in last place on 123. Seb in third place on 116. John, you're on 104. I'm on 96. So it's an 8-point gap. It's an 8-point gap. You're gaining a little bit back on me. We're trying to, unlike Liverpool, I don't want to run away with it. I want to keep it exciting for the listener all the way until the end.
You want to remain a title contender.
I want you to remain a title contender so that I can snatch it away from you again as we get more towards the end. JJ, I'm going to ask you, I assume you selected the fixtures. Actually, I assume you selected the fixtures last week because there's an Aberdeen Kilmarnock game in here, so you won't be doing it again. Oh. Ruben, you as me, can you pick 2 fixtures for me, please, as me? And then you'll be playing as Seb. It's very confusing how many different people you play as.
I can wear many different hats, you know this.
Yeah.
Okay, as you.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm going to choose Crystal Palace versus Millwall in the FA Cup.
Crypal versus Millwall, okay. And then who?
And Manchester City versus Plymouth Argyle, also in the FA Cup.
There's Premier League fixtures this midweek, isn't there?
There are. Should we use one
I
of
like
those?
Let's do the FA Cup ones. They're fun. They're fun. Okay, great. So let's begin then with me, as me now. Just to be absolutely clear, I am now playing me. And for Crypal versus Millwall, this is a one and done leg situation, is it?
Yes.
Somebody's got to win.
No replays.
Okay, so because somebody has to win, I'm going to say 1-1 because it's still statistically the best. No, I won't do that because I want the chance to win. To win accurate. I want the chance. You know what I'm saying.
To win accurately.
I'm going to say 2-1 to Crypal, and then for Manchester City versus Plymouth. Isn't this a second leg? I'm so confused.
No, City played Orient in the previous game, and Liverpool lost to Argyle.
Who played? Yeah, Plymouth played Liverpool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does that mean we get the chance to do another Plymouth episode?
Do you know what? I am going to say 1-1 Man City Plymouth just because I think Plymouth Argyle They're on the rise. Everyone's talking about Plymouth. Everyone's thinking about Plymouth. JJ Bull.
Good coaching staff, Plymouth.
Is it?
Yeah, they've just got new coaching staff in,
Great.
including some good names.
Well,
People who aren't Wayne Rooney.
great. You can suck up to the industry on your own time, John. Okay, not here. Not on. This is a critical show where we only say bad things.
No, I think they should be highlighted for the work they're doing.
I commend them also,
Yeah.
and I'm also available for work. If what is it that you would want to do?
And I'm just pointing out that
No, but just hypothetically, what position in the football team would you?
this is just me enjoying the fact they've got a great coaching.
Just
staff.
hypothetically,
really good coaching.
Just
staff.
hypothetically, though, what would you be, like a sort of opposition analyst or something, or a T-boy? What would it be that you would do there at a football team?
Centre forward.
Centre forward. Yeah, I could do. I'm tall. I could do that as well.
We could both. I'll suggest us both as false nines.
Sure.
False in the sense
do you know where
that
else
neither of us
there's
should be there.
great coaching staff, management staff? Right here. It's just here.
I'm thinking.
Hello. Just here.
Nah, can't think of anything.
JJ Bull, Crypal versus Millwall. I love calling them Crypal. That is good fun.
I really hope that doesn't stick.
Well, I'm going to show the people that I do know what I'm talking about with football sometimes. So I'm going to go for 3-1 to Crystal Palace.
I think that's good. And then Man City versus Plymouth.
8-0.
8-0. Good Lord. Okay. Well, John had a perfect score, so he'll guess last. Ruben, will you guess as Seb, please?
It's on Seb now, yeah.
Crypal versus Millwall.
Well, Joe, it's interesting because they're in different divisions. 2-0 to Palace.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. And then Man City versus Plymouth.
4-0 to City.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. And then finally, John, Crypal versus Millwall.
3. What did you say?
1-0.
3-0. Okay. And Man City versus Plymouth.
2-0.
2-0.
If it's not been taken already.
All right, fine. There we go. Come back next week to see how we get on with Points Are Bad, and also to see if anyone can beat me at the amazing other game that doesn't have a name yet. That
Separation.
The
Separation game. That's what.
The separation game. My parents played that. It was very sad.
You should call it Am I...
It was very sad at the time.
You could call it Am I Better Than AI
Isn't it
football?
the Kevin Bacon game or something?
Is it better that
7
the
degrees,
Kevin Bacon
7
game.
degrees of separation.
My friend Adam, who I do a movie podcast with, is going to be very unhappy with me because this is basically a version. This is basically a movie game that we play, and there we call it "Can You Beat Me?" Hi, I'm Kevin Bacon. That's the name of the game.
Nice. Is that a game where you have to find actors who've been on the same film?
Yeah. Connections through that. Yeah.
I guess that's a bit easier.
It
than
is
football
easier
because they
because
have a longer career.
Actors play for way more clubs than footballers do.
I would be
Ian
way.
McKellen, and then you're done. Right?
Yeah, you're
That's
done.
it.
I would be way worse at the actor one though.
But you just find a way to Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something if you're doing a British film, and then everyone's in
Two
it,
film series that I do not enjoy.
But he loves the Eagles, which makes you think.
That's the end now.